Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hard Things Podcast. This is your host, Blaine Burgess. This is episode 32. It's going to be all about the heart and the thymus gland. If you are wondering, I do sound a little bit under the weather, and that is pretty much par for the course for this time of year. It's October 24th, moving into cold and flu season, and I just finished midterms. Somehow I kept it on the rails, passed all my tests, and now I'm looking at a nice big long weekend filled with coaching and reflection time and maybe a little reading for pleasure, maybe a movie, just some things for me. I haven't done anything for me for 10 to 14 days. When I say anything, I just mean straight up wasting time. I'm a big wasting time kind of guy, and haven't been able to waste any time lately. So really looking forward to that this weekend. But yeah, today's episode, we've been going up the spine through all of the kind of Eastern yogic chakras. So we've been to the root, sacral, and solar plexus. I'm not going to go through all three of those because at this point doing a review is pretty extensive. I could talk for an hour about what I've already talked about, so I'm just going to hop into this week. And the associated gland with the heart is the thymus gland. That's where our T cells, one of our types of immune cells in the body, can basically live and mature. Eventually, when they do all mature, the thymus actually disappears in adults. But nonetheless, it's really important, and there are ways that you can support your thymus and your heart. No matter what, the heart's still there till the end. So that's the only, ideally, beating all the time. Those muscles are constantly contracting. And if you think about the number of times they contract in your lifetime, it's pretty mind-boggling. So here are going to be three ways that I support my heart, my cardiovascular system, and my immune system. Obviously, haven't been supporting it as well as I could be, but I did double down on all of these things to kind of improve my symptoms when they first launched, and I was really only feeling bad with the sickness for about 24 hours thanks to kind of my overall health, I think, and the sauna. So without further ado, hopping into the sauna. If you think about what the body does when you have an immune response, oftentimes it leads into a fever. So your body will pull different levers in your physiology to raise your internal core temperature, which makes you really uncomfortable, sick, tired, all the above. And what this does is it kills everything that's not you in a way. Certain temperatures, different bacteria, and sicknesses, things that act on your body just can't live. So what I feel like a sauna is a fever on purpose, not waiting for the body to create that fever, like putting yourself in that situation willingly. And there's a lot of great things that happen. So your body circulation goes up, so you're clearing out all the trash in your cells. Especially I like sauna in the morning, and I almost said the word fasted, so I do fasted sauna in the morning a lot. That's great for focus and concentration. I feel like sometimes if I don't do that, I can't really pay attention in school. So luckily we have a very hot one at school with a shower in a locker room, and I can get hot and sweaty for about 20 minutes, take a shower, and head to class. So it's very, very nice. And getting that blood flow moving, stimulating, all of the kind of reactive, sympathetic parts of my body so I can focus is a great asset. It's one thing that kind of helped me overcome ADHD, being able to control my attention and focus using tools like the sauna. So that's been really great. And obviously with the heart, aside from the thymus, so killing foreign pathogens. That's what a fever does. But then the heart itself, just getting the heart pumping, it's a exercise for the heart, kind of a stress test, if you will, and good stress for the heart. A nice 20-minute sauna session, some breathing, kind of being done in that session as well. Really gives the heart a good workout. And then the kind of stresses of everyday life, just walking around, even exercise, doesn't really compare to the sauna. The stress it's put under when it's a little too hot and it's having to pump at a high heart rate. I find it's a great way to get your heart rate up that high without obviously having to do a bunch of exercise. Kind of a semi-relaxing way to freak out, which is probably the easiest way to explain it. And so kind of adjacent to sauna, a lot of people enjoy hot yoga. And I think of this as sauna light, because hot yoga, obviously not as hot as a sauna, and that wouldn't be tenable. Like you would freak out too much and have to leave the room if it was as hot as a sauna while you're doing yoga. But even a 90-degree room can make you feel things, and it gets your heart rate going because with the yoga you're moving around, and all the bending, twisting, and everything. What I find is it puts pressure on the lymphatic system, which is the thymus is a part of. So as you're twisting and moving, again, you're just moving the waters inside your body. All that trash, again, is getting pushed where it needs to go to get filtered out. And it's like wringing your body out like a sponge, essentially. So get all that trash out of there so you can feel clean inside. That's actually something I read a book recently about the Russian banyas and kind of the origin of sauna in Europe. And a lot of times the Russians would use sauna, consider it as their way of cleaning themselves, like a shower. So you wouldn't necessarily feel fresh and clean like we would, using soap and water in the way that we do now. But that wasn't readily available back then, so they would just sweat it out. And I think in a lot of ways, sweating it out and using some type of tool, like even as they did in ancient Rome and Greece and everything, flicking that dirty sweat off of your body as it comes off. I do feel like decently good at cleaning your body. There's still obviously bacteria on the surface of the body at all times and inside the body, but as you sweat and everything in yoga, it just feels good to get it out. I've been practicing yoga for about 2.5 years now, and I'm about to perform some yoga when I go to the gym a little bit later, and it's very, very good for body and mind. So I highly recommend hot yoga, even just a simple flow. A little bit of twisting, a little turning, a little bending can go a long way in terms of your heart health, activating your parasympathetic nervous system, allowing yourself to relax, and get some good stress in. Good stress goes a long way, making us more resilient and better humans. And I kind of went fast on the sauna and yoga part because they're a little bit self-explanatory. I could talk more about what happens physiologically, but that would be kind of boring. And the last piece, so I've talked about something potentially free, I guess free and anecdotal. So yoga is like pretty well studied. It's, you could go online and get, free videos. The sauna is usually something you have to pay for. So a hot sauna can be hard to come by depending on where you live. I'm lucky in Dallas. We have LA Fitness. It's $40 a month, and I just get unlimited sauna. There's a pool for swimming. There's machines for bodybuilding. So that's a relatively low-cost way to sweat it out and feel better. So we have the free, we have the kind of low-cost way of improving, and then so now kind of the studied supplement as the third thing. And this is something that, once again, I learned when I started working at Thorne. There is, I don't know how new it is. It's maybe new in terms of marketing. But what we do now in supplements, a lot of people are doing is pairing magnesium with an amino acid called glycine to make magnesium glycinate. It's pretty popular now in the kind of biohacking health space. You see a lot of companies releasing products like that, and for good reason. So magnesium is a mineral in your body, an electrolyte that is very, very important on many fronts. So I'm going to talk about a few of those fronts, but this is first and foremost, very important in aerobic energy creation in your cell. So magnesium is a part of the citric acid cycle on the electron transport chain, I believe. Both. I'd have to double check, but essentially when you're using oxygen for fuel in your cells, magnesium's there. It's one of the steps, and kind of as an aid to the process of obtaining ATP from the other molecules in your body. So very, very important. We're talking long-term energy, basically the energy that's mostly powering your heart, especially, and all muscles. So when we think of muscles, we think of, bodybuilding muscles, and muscles like move weight, and your heart is a muscle, and it's a muscle that never really stops moving. And all of our muscles have some level of tonicity, like tone, tension at all times. But for the most part, muscles do get to relax a lot, especially when we're asleep and laying down. But the heart never gets to rest. So it's really important to support the heart with all of the fuel that it needs, oxygen and minerals like magnesium and calcium and potassium and sodium. So when you take electrolytes in the form of an electrolyte powder, this is kind of what we're talking about. Magnesium is just one electrolyte. In the future, I may alter this to taking all the electrolytes. But magnesium especially, I found for me, has helped me combat stress. I feel like when I do take it, I do feel a difference. I feel more relaxed. And funny enough, magnesium is the salt. It's magnesium sulfate that's in the float tanks I talked about in 2 episodes ago. And that magnesium, I believe, gets in your skin. Your skin will absorb a little bit of magnesium, and part of the reason you feel so relaxed when you get out of the float tank, studies show that it's just your body naturally takes on magnesium if it was deficient and can put it to use, and that helps you. Obviously, it helps you feel nice and relaxed after those floats. So, but I do take it as a supplement. So I have magnesium glycinate pills. The current one I take, I got from Whole Foods. Is actually relatively inexpensive. A big bottle lasts me a long time, like 3 months. I think it was like $17. So no excuse when it comes to this. So number one for magnesium, we got bone health. Magnesium helps regulate calcium and vitamin D levels. And a lot of the magnesium found in our body is in our bones. So pretty important stuff there. If your body is low on magnesium or calcium or any of those minerals, it will pull those minerals from your bones if needed, and thus that's how we get osteoporosis. So don't want that. We want nice strong bones. You gotta work out, lift weights, and have enough calcium, magnesium, and all the above. Second is diabetes. I talked a lot about this last week relating to inositol, but insulin resistance may worsen if you do not have enough magnesium. So insulin resistance has a lot to do with glucose. So there's 3 energy systems in the body, the kind of the immediate creatine phosphate pathway for a quick burst. Glucose we can use for like 30 to 90 seconds hard. And then once the glucose runs out, your body will use primarily oxygen for fuel. So you can imagine if you have a magnesium deficiency, you're not using oxygen for fuel very well, and your body is trying to use glucose for fuel, but if you have an insulin problem, that system's already messed up, so it's just putting more stress on the system. So yeah, long story short, if you're having insulin problems, the worst thing you could do is take away the other energy system. Then at this point, you just have no energy, and that's why I think a lot of people with type 2 diabetes just crash, and they feel like they can't exercise, which is ultimately the thing they need, which is why I recommend sauna, because you can just sit in there. I'm really excited to work with people in the future on this, if you can't tell. It all makes a little too much sense. Magnesium also assists with cardiovascular health. Like I said, all muscles, including muscles of the heart, need this to function. So if you're reducing magnesium, it can put more stress on that system, and things like hypertension can occur. So, taking magnesium supplements could lower blood pressure, among other things, which obviously, you take the stress of not having enough energy off the system, and it gives it room to potentially improve. So it just makes sense. Definitely not a cure-all, but another really good effect of this. Like this, at this point, is having multiple effects on multiple systems. It also says here, there's a meta-analysis in 2018 saying it may lower a person's risk of stroke, which, again, with all the other mechanisms we talked about, makes sense. On the same level as stroke, we have migraine headaches. Magnesium may prevent or relieve headaches because deficiency can affect neurotransmitters and restrict blood vessels. So again, along the same lines within the cardiovascular system, the heart is really important because it's what pumps the blood, but the main thing that needs the blood is the brain. If we don't have the brain, the heart won't pump. So those two really need to write love letters to each other, or else. So yeah, migraine headaches could be related to the neurotransmitters again. And it could be your brain just needs more fuel and it can't use it. So, again, just another little benefit. Going back to the ladies, also premenstrual syndrome could reduce bloating, mood symptoms, and other side effects in PMS, which is cool. And last but not least, anxiety, depression and anxiety, kind of related to the PMS issue and also the brain stuff, the strokes, the migraines. I think all that is a little bit kind of comes hand in hand. We talk about PMS, like a woman's cycle. It puts, again, more stress on her reproductive system. So she's going to be needing more electrolytes during that period of time. The same goes with anxiety and depression. Obviously, someone's experiencing stress from an outside source. So they're going to, again, need more resources. So supplementing with magnesium obviously can help. And I think I've talked about this before, but the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis controls a person's reaction to stress. So I myself had some concussions, and I think depression and anxiety I was experiencing may have been related to just low levels of electrolytes in a way, which sounds crazy. But if you think about it, it's not that crazy. I probably wasn't drinking enough water or sports drinks, and I was pushing my body to the highest level. So, yeah, that is it for magnesium. So now I'm going to talk about the other side of it, which is glycine. So glycine, again, is an amino acid, first and foremost. So what amino acids are the building blocks of proteins, among other things. So fun fact about glycine, most proteins only incorporate a small amount of it. So glycine is the most simple amino acid. A lot of times it's in the like a protein structure, when different amino acids chain together, they fold. So when the proteins fold and turn and bend, glycine's usually in the corner because it's got to make a turn. So you think about like an F1 racetrack. If it's a really tight corner, you can imagine glycine's right in the middle of that corner. Because it's so small compared to some of the other amino acids, it's got to fit in the corner. It's just how it has to be. So a lot of proteins just have a little bit of glycine in those turns, but collagen, the specific shape of collagen, which helps make our connective tissues, ligaments, tendons, all that, among other things, it actually has 35% glycine. And the collagen has a helix structure, which makes kind of more twists and turns than other proteins. And yeah, that's why it's about 1/3 glycine. So the reason collagen supplements are so popular right now, it makes people feel better, is because when your body breaks down that collagen, then your body has glycine, and it's going to put it back together as collagen or use that glycine for other purposes. There is purposes related to DNA. I'm not going to talk about that because it just gets into a whole thing. I don't know as much about that as I do about glycine being a neurotransmitter. So there's that word again, the second time this episode, but neurotransmitter basically is a molecule that helps the nervous system send signals throughout your body, from your brain to your body and back to your brain. Glycine is an inhibitory neurotransmitter that helps your muscles relax. So if your muscles are contracting, when your muscles want to relax, either your brain sends a signal because you are mentally like relaxing your bicep, for example, or in between heartbeats, you do get that glycine for a second when those either atria or ventricles stop contracting momentarily. So it's just constantly happening. And you can imagine if you're working out a bunch, you're super stressed, and you don't have enough glycine in your body, it's using it to try and make ligaments and tendons and neurotransmit and all these things. It's going to do its best, but you're going to run out eventually. So you could see where muscles would retain tension. If you're working out really hard and you just can't relax, you can't sleep, that could be why. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of reasons why. But glycine, for me, taking magnesium glycinate, and I also take glycine straight up, it's fantastic. Honestly, nothing better. I won't say nothing better. There's one thing better. I'm going to talk about it in a few weeks. But it's another amino acid. But that amino acid makes me relax like no other. And the great thing that I'll do, so glycine is actually a couple times sweeter than sugar, randomly. So it doesn't have any calorie content because it's not protein, carb, or fat. So you put that sweet nectar in like a tea at night, no caffeine tea, and you just drink it. Tastes sweet, makes the drink taste better, which is great, and you end up falling asleep better. I have a couple of capsules of supplements that I'll take at night, but that's kind of the idea there. So really, really good. So magnesium glycinate could be kind of sweet. Glycine on its own, definitely sweet. And yeah, great to take at night. Can't recommend it enough. So there's a couple other uses of glycine in the body, but it gets too much into things that really aren't relevant here, because all I want for this week is for people to understand the heart and the thymus gland, the immune system. The best thing you can do is heat your body up, move it, twist it, and then make sure it has things like magnesium, glycine, and all the other, substrate that your body needs. There's different things like tyrosine. There's different things like the other electrolytes, sodium, calcium, potassium, things that your body really needs. And you could be deficient on any one of them at any time, maybe on different days, just depending on what you eat. These things are hidden in all the things that we eat. So if your diet's not super consistent, you're eating kind of trashy one day and then eating better another day, might be worth a look to be more consistent with your diet, and then also more consistent with a supplementation regimen. But anyways, so that brings this to a conclusion. I'm having a lot of fun with these last 4 episodes, and I'm looking forward to the next 3. Just to look ahead, we're talking a little bit about thyroid, the pineal gland, pituitary gland, so we're getting more into the brain, the control center. And we're going to be talking about cold exposure, sun, strength training, different things like that. And I'm excited to get into it. So until next time, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll be back next week. See you later.